This is Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a Seven Mountains Media production, your daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball, featuring interviews with special guests. Now here's your host, Mr. Steve Jones.
Hello, Kyle. All right, so we're going to talk about one of your favorite topics today, and it's not the New Orleans Saints. The Women's World Cup, by the way, will begin on Thursday. The United States will open with Vietnam, I believe.
That it does.
But Ronaldo, mentioned on this show yesterday, said that the Saudi League is better than MLS.
He did make that claim.
Where, of course, Messi now resides in MLS. And it was a grand opening. I don't know how many their stadium seats, 20, 25,000?
They see, I believe, 25,000 in Miami.
And they were shoehorned in just to introduce him. Nobody kicked a ball just to introduce him. So I mentioned, gee, it would be great if Ronaldo ever came over here. And, of course, you said there's no way in heck that's happening because he is making a ton of Saudi cash.
Yeah.
So he is now with Al Nassr.
Yes.
And he says that the Saudi Pro League is better than MLS and that he has no plans to play in the United States or return to a team in Europe. He said the Saudi League is better than MLS when asked about making the move to the U.S. like Lionel Messi. And, of course, was unveiled at Inter Miami. Ronaldo was substituted in the first half of the score scoreless. Said, I opened the way to the Saudi League. Now all the players are coming here. Now, I believe Messi's teammate did go to MLS, went to Miami, right?
Messi, Sergio Busquets, who was on that Barcelona team, he was the anchor of the midfield. Yeah. He came. It looks like two of his other teammates, Jordi Alba and Luis Suarez, might be joining as well. So a lot of players are going to the MLS. And so this is a weird... I don't have the context for what question he was asked, by the way. Let's clarify with that. I don't know what question he was asked going into this, because his point of our league is getting better with a lot of players, I get what he's saying, because there's a lot of players they're signing. Al Nassr are about to sign one of the best young midfielders in the world.
They got Benzema, Brozovic, Conte, Firmino are all going and to the Saudi League.
There's more players. Mahrez, Seiko Fofana is the player I was alluding to, who's 26 and is one of the best midfielders, young midfielders in the world. He's joining, which is a huge one. Again, young players going to this league is big, but I believe FIFA's got like a ranking system essentially for the top leagues in the world, and this is something that's been discussed heavily for years in terms of recently some leagues have fallen off, where the French league, where Messi played at Paris Saint-Germain, technically was like 6th or 7th overall. I believe in terms of the world and FIFA, MLS is ranked higher than the Saudi League. Right. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
Here is his point. In one year, more and more top players will come to Saudi Arabia. In a year, the Saudi League will overtake the Turkish League and the Dutch League. That's his opinion.
That is a very big statement to make, because the Dutch League is one of the top, I'd say, 10 leagues. Turkey's probably in the same ballpark. Yes. They both have teams that are well known. You've got the top tier, which is England, Germany, Spain, Italy, and France is the fifth, technically. They're the Power Five. Then you've got the Dutch League, the Portuguese League. You've got a few others in that kind of ballpark of 5, 6 to 10. And then you have the tier below that is probably where I'd put like the MLS. And then below that is where the Saudi League would be.
Well, he says they'll overtake the Dutch and the Turkish leagues. I think his point about MLS is the fact that Messi's there.
Yeah.
I think that's the only reason.
It's a call out of him being like, I'm bigger than Messi.
Right. I mean, that's exactly what he's saying. Now, we all know he's Real Madrid's all-time leading scorer.
Yeah.
He is 100% sure, quote, I am 100% sure I won't return to any European club. I'm 38 years old, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
And European football has lost a lot of quality, he says. The only valid one and still doing well is the Premier League. They're way ahead of all other leagues, and that is a fact.
That is true.
That is a fact. He said the plan right now is for him to play, at the moment, 45 minutes minimum, and then he might start playing as much as 60 to 70 minutes. He says he's just trying to fine-tune the machine little by little so he can reach his best form.
So he is load managing, is what he's saying. He's load managing.
Well, these are all friendlies they're playing it.
Well, yes, but how he was saying it was, I'm going to fine-tune myself to warm up. He's load managing.
Yeah.
And the thing with leagues and with the Saudi League and MLS in particular is that because they're not in Europe, they're not in UEFA, it's just a whole different stratosphere for them. Right. Because there are a lot of leagues around the world that are big. Brazil's league, the Brasileiro, I believe, is gigantic.
Yep.
Argentina's got the single biggest matchup in the world between Boca Juniors and River Plate. It is considered the most deadly because at least like 5 people die every year they play a match. It's crazy.
That's not good.
It is not good, but that's just like the atmosphere around it is these leagues are big elsewhere in the world. With the Saudi League, up until Ronaldo went there, I think there was a total of 2 players I could name, possibly if I really thought about it, that were in that league. Now, with Ronaldo there and the money being invested, a lot more top talent is there. Do I think there's better players in the Saudi League? Yes. Does that mean it's a better league? No. Does not mean that.
But that's where it is right now. Messi gives MLS an injection of enthusiasm they have not had since, obviously.
It's been a while.
Yeah. And since the Galaxy, of course, brought
David Beckham
over. And Beckham now, of course, is part owner of Inter Miami.
In possibly the greatest contract in sport history.
Yes.
In terms of a player standpoint.
Yes, he's doing well. I don't think at any point he will be filing for unemployment.
Oh, no. But I just, can you imagine any other sports league agreeing to a contract where you can, at any point in time after this, buy a team for $25 million as part of your contract? Like, that is the craziest part of this.
But, that's crazy, except I think something that's crazier is the TV contract they negotiated. Why a 10-year deal with Apple TV? I don't understand it at all. Okay, they should have negotiated to 26 when the World Cup is here and enthusiasm for the sport will be at its highest level ever in this country. Then I would have negotiated a new TV contract. That's how I look at it.
I think they're betting on Apple. And
they're betting on security.
And they, at that point in time when it was negotiated, did not know Messi would be coming here, because I'm guessing if they signed a contract now, be exorbitantly higher purely because of Messi.
Sure.
But
right now they are a product that because of the Apple TV. Again, this goes back to the streaming we talked about yesterday. I was talking about placing TV contracts. You still need some form of linear TV to reach the masses.
That you do.
And everyone can talk about ESPN cord cutting. True. But the cord cutting has gone from 102 million homes to 80 million homes. Okay? I didn't say it went from 102 million to 8. It went from 102 million to 80 million homes. BTN is in 55 to 65 million homes. All right? 5 to 65 million homes. And they're not a top dog cable network. Right, and you still have NBC, CBS, ABC. Right, you still need some sort of linear deal that gets you to the masses. Oh, by the way, Peacock is going up from $1 to $2.
Peacock had a very fun email that I read this morning at 6 in the morning when I woke up, being like, "Your price is changing," and I was like, "Are you serious?"
Just in time for Delaware, Penn State.
Just in time, but I think if there was one sport to not go linear, not go cable, I think soccer is it, because there's already this very streaming heavy presence, at least especially in America, because not a lot of us watch the MLS. We have to get streaming services to watch the other leagues. The only other place you can really watch soccer is on NBC Sports when the one Premier League match is on. But the rest of them are all on Peacock. I believe ESPN Plus has the Serie A and the Bundesliga, so Italy and Germany.
Right.
And if you want to watch Spain and Real Madrid and Barcelona, they're on another one as well. That everyone's on a streaming service. So if you're going to commit to a league going full streaming, the MLS isn't a bad choice, because they're not going to win out against anyone else. And just based on when their games are, they're not going to beat the NFL or the NCAA. Right. They're not going to beat the MLB or the NBA or whoever else. They're going to lose to these other leagues just because people aren't watching those games there. Right. A lot of people watch soccer games at bars. That's the really big thing. Is people go to the pub to watch a soccer match, even in the U.S. I did this myself.
Well done on the pub.
There was a soccer bar in Syracuse, New York called Wolf's Beer Garden. I watched a lot of soccer matches there at 10 in the morning because I couldn't get a lot of matches anywhere else. And streaming is the best way to do it. I didn't pay for a lot of things, so went to the bar, got a beverage at 10 in the morning as a legal adult, and it was a very fun thing. So if the MLS is going streaming, I'm okay with it. Could they have gotten more money in 2026 when it's at an all-time high? Yes, but they're, again, betting on security of let's get a deal and let's bump the league up to a higher place in the next 10 years and then go back in and get a nice chunk of change again.
Sure. Baseball headlines.
Where do you want to go with this? Because there's a lot of headlines in a lot of places.
But it's a desperation point of trying to point out through stats how great somebody is. And I don't mean home runs, RBIs. To me, it's a lot of, it's a nice stat, but I'm results-based. In other words, did you win? That's a big one. Did you get him out? Did you get a hit? Right? Okay. Do I care if it's a bloop to right field and the guy scores a run, or it's 105 mile per hour exit velocity to get in the run? It doesn't matter. They both get in the run. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's all I care about. All right? So, I'll give you a couple right out of the gate.
Ooh.
Aroldis Chapman. Headline.
Former Yankee.
Sets Rangers record with a 103 mile per hour K. I'm sitting there like going, so what?
He's been throwing 105 for a decade.
He threw 100 to 105 with the Reds. He threw 100 to 105 with the Cubs. He threw 100 to 105 with the Yankees, and he's throwing 100 to 105. Oh, is it the White Sox he was with?
Royals, I believe.
Royals.
I think it was the Royals.
And now he's throwing 100 to 105 with the Rangers. And guess what? His fastball is still flat as heck. It has no movement on it. That's why people can hit it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What's the story there?
It set a record
so
for
what?
the Rangers.
It's like under the category of that. So what? Did I click on it? No. De La Cruz. Still have yet to watch him. I'm anxious to watch him because it sounds like he's a marvelous five-tool player.
He sounds. I know he was a very highly touted prospect, but this kid seems like a world beater level player.
So he makes a throw that goes, I don't know what the heck was that? 100,
fast. 103, 100 something from short to first.
Right. And O'Neal Cruz did the same thing last year. And I said the same thing last year, I'm going to say now. So what? Did he get him out? Right? That's great. He's got a fabulous arm. Love it. Great. Did he get him out?
Did the out happen?
All right. Which he did. But that's all that matters to me. Okay? In the StatCast era. In the StatCast era, what? For all we know, Luis Aparicio threw 104 miles an hour. I don't know. I mean, it's you sit there like, I don't. Okay, this is where I'll tell you where I think stats are fun. And this is how I incorporate it into a broadcast. I only talk about exit velocity after a home run just for the fun of it. Right? Sanchez for Frederick, Alex Sanchez, hit a home run over the grandstand in right on Sunday. Right? 424 feet, exit velocity, and I do not do the old, hey, the exit velo. I mean, please, let's use English.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Stop acting like you're the cool announcer. Tell people in words that they completely understand. Okay? The exit velocity was 106 miles an hour. Okay. That's just, okay. Yeah. How hard did he hit it?
Yeah. Okay. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy.
Right? And that's all to me, that's all this stuff is.
Yeah.
That's all this stuff is. Okay? Does it matter if a guy goes to steal second and he was going 22 miles an hour? Well, great. Okay. Was he out? Well, they threw him out.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, are they fascinating? Sure. Like when Drew Hartlob, they wear the monitors in practice. Drew Hartlob went like 23 miles or 24 miles an hour on a punt cover. I mean, Drew was
Crazy.
Drew was a 4.25 40 guy.
Whew.
All right.
Speed demon. Like, those are fun stats. I enjoy that level stuff.
For example, KJ Hamler was just here Saturday. Right? KJ never ran a 40 till finally you forced him. He's like, you got to run a 40. And KJ went out and ran 4.27. Like, whoa. And Journey Brown ran 4.29. Mm-hmm. And KJ runs 4.27. Whoa. Hartlob goes out, runs 4.25.
Not bad.
Right? Unbelievable. Right? But, hey, it's at some point you've got to be able to play football.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. They're playing Michigan at Michigan. I think it was 2020. Penn State won the game 27-17. Drew went down, belted the guy, forced a fumble. Penn State recovered. Okay? That's where him utilizing that speed to make a football play. Okay. Now, to me, now it becomes important, right? He was going 23 miles an hour, and it was a fair catch. Okay, great.
Can you tell me who, let's go with the top 8 all-time, any of the top 8 all-time 40-yard dash times are? Can you tell me any of them, at least NFL draft-wise?
There's the Ross kid that ended up with the Bengals.
John Ross is the first with 4.22.
Yeah. I don't know what they ever timed Dion at.
I don't believe Dion ever got timed.
He got timed.
He did?
Yeah, he got timed, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But Ross is the only one I really know.
The only player on this list, I'd say Tariq Woolen is pretty good right now, the Seahawks corner. But outside of that, the rest of the guys that are there, the only one that I think at least has some recognition of being a good player was Chris Johnson, CJ2K.
Yep.
The rest of them, Kalen Barnes is a recent player for the Panthers. Yeah. Rondell Menendez, Jerome Mathis, Dree Archer, and DJ Turner.
Dree Archer played at Kent State, played against Penn State, was drafted by the Steelers, and just circled the Fogden Airport in the league. Yeah,
that's the thing, is that these guys, like, you can run fast. Speed doesn't matter if you can't play football. John Ross was drafted 9th overall to be a speedy receiver. Right. Dude is out of the league right now, I believe.
Exactly. It's, can you play? Now, that's their avenue to get in, which I totally understand. You can't teach that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But, for example, Ronaldo Skeets Nehemiah, great world champion Olympic hurdler, lasted a couple of years in the league. Jimmy Hines was the Mexico City gold medalist in the 100, ran a 9.900 at the time, which was the world's fastest at that moment, 100 meters. Right? He lasted 2 years with the Dolphins, made one catch in his career. Now, certain guys that are sprinters like Bob Hayes, the Tokyo Olympic champion. Yeah. Bob Hayes had a good career in the NFL.
Who's the receiver currently for the Eagles? The hurdler.
Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to think if he's going to beat out A.J. Brown. No. Devontae Smith. No.
Devin Allen. Devin Allen, 110-meter hurdler.
I'm saying, who's he going to beat out? Quez Watkins? No. No, he's got a problem.
But he's at least he's on the roster. That's not terrible.
Oh no,
or he was.
That's fine. It's just you got to be able to play the game.
Yeah.
Right. Now here's the next one. This deals with the Pirates. Now the Pirates are going heavy youth movement outside, of course, of guys like Santana, McCutcheon, Reynolds, people like that. Henry Davis is up. Davis is doing fine. He's hitting 271.
Not bad.
He's doing just fine.
Serviceable.
Triolo's up. Nick Gonzalez. A pick that I did like a couple of years ago. He's back up with them. Piguero's playing shortstop. But last night they started a battery who made their first appearances. Endy Rodriguez behind the plate and Quinn Priester on the mound. I guess it's the first time two guys born in the 2000s played their first major league game as a pitcher-catcher. That's nice. But, that was the headline. Okay, so let's deep dive into the game. They lost 11-0.
Rodriguez went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts.
And Priester went 5 1/3, gave up 7 hits, 7 earned runs, struck out 2, walked 2. He's got an ERA now of 11.81.
Not great.
Okay. But the headline is, first time through. I'm like going sitting like, oh, for goodness, who cares? Hey, again, it's results, okay? They started. It didn't go well.
I think you're being a little bit too negative here, Steve. I think you're being a little bit of a negative Nancy, negative Nelly. I think I enjoy the youth. I enjoy seeing these young players. I have no problem with that,
but they lost 11-0. They got crushed.
But let's be reasonable here.
They got crushed by a team that's 46-48.
But they're better than the Pirates are. I mean, the Pirates are sitting. They had a great start to the season. Now they're 41-53 and tied for last place with the Cardinals in the Central. They're not making the playoffs anytime soon, as they have been for.
They're not going to make the playoffs this
years.
decade, despite all this stuff.
So for them to see the youth not doing well but playing, I'm okay with. But I'm
fine with them turning over and
a new leaf.
My problem's the headline, not what they did. The headline. Oh, this is intriguing. Then you look at it and go, 11-0. They're crushed.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't like, hey, Priester went 5 1/3. He gave up, 2 runs on 6 hits, struck out 7, walked 3. Like, hey, that's a good start for him. No, he went 5 1/3, gave up 7 hits, 7 runs, all earned, walked 2, struck out 2. Not great, right? Threw only 47 strikes and 73 pitches. That was an 11.81 ERA. I'm sorry, that's not a headline.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not a headline. Andy Rodriguez went 0 for 3 or 0 for 4. Not a headline. That's good. Okay, fine. Again, I understand because it's not like the Pirates. Okay, the Pirates should be putting that out.
Oh yeah,
they should be.
That's fun press.
But why is it a headline on ESPN? Why? Why is that headline on ESPN.com?
Because nothing's happening right now.
I mean,
it's speculation season everywhere, every sport.
It doesn't do. I sit there and go, what am I reading here? Okay. Who won the game? This wasn't one of those, hey, final was 5-3, the youth movement, they hung in, they did well, Priester kept them in the game, Rodriguez did a good job behind the play. Okay, this team got blown out last night. Okay, gave up 2 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, 4 in the 6th, 2 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th, gave up 12 hits. Pirates had 4 hits. Guess what? Okay. Now, that's okay. There you go.
Yeah.
You
know what'll help calm you down? A little.
Oh, I'm not even remotely. I just look at this stuff and say, I'm sorry. I want news.
Well,
I want news.
There could be news.
When we were talking about Ronaldo.
That's newsworthy.
Okay, that's newsworthy. That's one of the great stars of the game who's promoting his league, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
He's promoting his league. There are a lot of people that are anti-Saudi money, but the Saudi money is drawing soccer in a direction, just like Saudi money was driving golf in a direction. Okay, so this now ties into live golf and so forth. All right, we all also know that Qatar is going to get an entity in Qatar is going to get a 5% cut of the Washington Wizards, Washington Capitals, Washington Mystics, and the TV network that carries them. But the NBA has rules on that you can only up to, as a foreign entity, own up to 20%. Okay, this all ties with what we've been talking about. But I don't care how hard Cruz throws the ball. I don't care how hard. I mean, I already know Chapman throws hard. I already got that. I've watched him for a decade throw hard.
Well, there's one headline that might be coming sooner than later, Steve. Because you know what today is. You know what today's date is.
Today's the 18th of July.
Today's the 18th of July. It is Tuesday. Do you know what happens in exactly 2 weeks and 6 hours from now? 6.5 hours as of this minute.
College football training camp opens.
It's not what I was thinking about, but that's a good one. It is the MLB trade deadline. 6 p.m. on August 1st is the MLB trade deadline.
Well, this is going to be interesting because we have more playoff teams.
More playoff teams.
They do. And more teams in contention to be in the playoff.
Well, Steve, do you know one team that currently is falling out of playoff contention?
The Yankees.
That's not who I was thinking about, but sure. Can you name me another team that is also falling out of playoff contention slowly but surely?
Well, the Cardinals are.
Think headline here.
The Angels.
The Angels. So Mike Trout's hurt.
I would not trade Shohei Ohtani.
Okay, right. So there's your answer.
Right, and I will say, okay, you cannot replace him with a number of guys that can make up for what he does. I say, if you're the Angels, Pay him. And then build around him.
But the problem is, would Shohei, like, that's the thing, is people are like, oh, they could just pay him. But would he want to stay in the Angels? I mean, he's got the other best player in the MLB and Mike Trout there, and they cannot win to save their lives. This year they had a good year, but even they're falling off.
See, and I can't answer that because I've never been around him in my life. I have no idea what his relationship is with the club. I have no idea what his relationship is with management. None of that at this point. Right now, the Angels are 5.5 games out of the wild card.
They're behind 4 of the AL East teams in the wild card standings.
Yeah, Baltimore right now is squarely in.
Baltimore's in.
Toronto and Houston.
And then it's Boston,
the Red
New
Sox
York.
are a game and a half back. The Yankees, who are just killing it right now, won 3 of their last 10.
Do you know how crazy it is that the last place team in the AL East would be the best team in the AL Central? You know how wild that is?
I know. And you know what's interesting? That's because you're playing a balanced schedule.
Yeah.
You're not knocking each other off by playing 19 games against each other.
But
by the way, in the National League, it's the Giants, Arizona, Miami. And the Phillies are only a half game back. Cincinnati's only 2 back.
Shout out to the Marlins. Marlins doing well.
Marlins have done well. But
Shohei and the Angels.
Would I trade him? No. And I'm going to go back to, and again, you lose him to free agency. Okay, I understand that.
That's the hypothetical. Okay, do you lose him for nothing, or do you get something for him?
Okay. The Red Sox traded Mookie Betts. When they traded Mookie Betts, I said, this is the 21st century version of Babe Ruth going to the Yankees. Right? In terms of the Red Sox, right, as a franchise. I'm not talking about baseball altogether. He's not, Betts is not Babe Ruth, but has skill sets that are fabulous. Betts on the field, awesome arm, excellent hitter, can hit with power, speed, the whole deal. Off the field, an absolute gem and a half in a city that has not had the best reputation and needed to have a guy like Mookie Betts on the roster. Okay? All those reasons, on and off the field. This is a guy that, after game 1 of the World Series, when the Red Sox beat the Dodgers, went out on his own with no fanfare and took meals to the homeless. Like, who does that? That's the kind of guy he is. That's the kind of guy you re-sign. You don't deal him for Alex Verdugo and Colton Wong, and then you're like, you sit there and go, great. All right. Okay. Yeah, I don't get it. So all these trades that have been made over the years, with the exception of Herschel Walker to the Vikings, right? They don't work out. They don't work out. Right? And the reason it doesn't work out, especially in baseball, I'm trading the known entity to get a bunch of people that have no track record. And so let's go back to last night's game. Now, let's see what Quinn Priester does, because it'll be all about adjustments. I mean, he's got a long career ahead of him. But Quinn Priester was 7-3 at Indianapolis. All 3 losses were in April. He's been 7-0 since. Right? And has been pitching great. Now he goes to the majors. Well, guess who he wasn't facing at Indianapolis? He wasn't facing Josh Naylor. He wasn't facing Jose Ramirez. He wasn't facing Bo Naylor even. Okay? It's just a different level. Being a prospect is a fancy way of saying you haven't done it before. And I see this over and over again, where 80% of the deals made where you get prospects in return, the prospects don't pay off. I remember when the Pirates made a trade with the Red Sox, and the big thing was the Red Sox got the ace reliever for the Pirates, who ended up doing nothing. Oh, and by the way, a throw-in guy by the name of former State College Spike Brock Holt.
Yeah, not a bad guy.
Red Sox gave up 4 guys. Somebody said to me, he says, hey, you know the Red Sox really well. How good are the 4 guys we got? I said, they stink. They'll do nothing for you. They go, what? No, this guy did this. He's rated here. I said, no, they won't. No. You want to know what they did with the Pirates?
Let me hear.
Nothing. Oh, they made the majors, and then realized they can't play. Right? Meanwhile, Brock Holtzel going on carves out a nice 10-year career in the majors, wins a World Series, hits for the cycle in the playoffs, makes the All-Star game, the whole deal. Okay. But this is trading for prospects is one of the biggest frauds I see in baseball every year. Okay? I trade the track record guy for 4 people with no track record, rolling the dice that one of them pays off. Right? That's what you're doing? Okay? I'm sorry. I make sure that I am in constant contact, and I'm re-signing that guy for 10 years. Right? Guess what? I'd have to replace him as a pitcher and as a player. Really? So you're really trading 2 players when you trade 1. How many are you going to get in return? 8? And this prospect thing rarely pays off. I mean, once in a while it pays off. Like, for example, the Yankees dealt Chapman to the Cubs, and they got, Gleyber Torres back or, whatever. That's one guy. The other guy they got, the other 2 guys they got didn't pan out. They got 1 guy. Okay. And Torres is still with them. That's fine. That's adorable. Okay? Can you name who the Yankees gave up for Rizzo? Nobody can. Can you name who they gave up for the big power hitter there? Giancarlo Stanton, who's hitting 201. He's hitting 201.
Had to throw that in there. Can you name me who the Nationals got for Juan Soto and Josh Bell?
No. I do know that one of them was Luke Voigt because he's a former steakhouse Spike. That's the only reason I know that.
But outside of that, it was Mackenzie Gore, C.J. Abrams, guys who are okay, but not as good as Juan Soto, at least should be.
Of course.
But
okay, you don't trade the established guy. The established guy has a track record that, for the most part, you can count on. And you give all this false hope to all, hey, we look at the prospects we got. You're a Pirate fan. Guess what? Year after year after year, guess what you get? Nothing. Every once in a while, they traded McCutchen. That's how they got Brian Reynolds. Okay, so let's give Brian Reynolds a lot of credit for what he's done. But really? I mean, the established players are the ones, that's why I don't trade Ohtani. I figure out every way I can to re-sign him. I keep he and Trout, and I figure out how to build around these guys somehow, some way. They've done a lousy job of building around them.
They have been what the Angels have done, or the lack thereof of them doing in the past, I would say, decade and a half, has been malpractice. It has been discussed openly. Like, you have the best player in baseball, and you have not done jack.
Right.
It is a problem, and that's why so many people believe if Ohtani has the choice, and now it works differently in the MLB than it does in a lot of other sports. You see the NBA, where the team who has had you for a while can offer you way more money.
Right.
I don't believe it's the same in the MLB. So this summer, if a 10-year, $600 million contract comes on in from the Angels, the Dodgers, the Giants, the Mets, the Yankees, the Red Sox, who do you think is bottom of that list? The Angels. They have to be.
Yep.
Yeah, he's been there forever. What if the Mariners get involved? That is the problem that they are facing, is they're sitting in this scenario where either A, you keep him and he walks in free agency.
Right.
Option number 1.
Right.
2, you keep him and he re-signs. All is good in the world. You can figure it out later.
Sure.
Option 3 is you trade him and get something back for him, knowing he was going to leave the end of the season.
Right.
That's basically where you're sitting. The fourth option is they trade him and he comes back, which won't happen. Right. That's not happening.
Once he's out, he's out.
So You're sitting in this situation of, do you take the decision out of his hands and do you just do it?
To be honest with you, the draft pick I get is going to be as good as the four prospects you give me because they're not going to go anywhere. It happens over and over again. Okay, there's a long track record of this happening. All right? Where the trade is made, look at the prospects we got. Okay, let's go down now to Pittsburgh. Yeah, what? You're still in last place and you're worse off than you were before. Okay, that's great. Good for you. You got prospects. You got a whole bunch of people that a lot of fans are looking around saying, okay, I need to buy a scorecard. I need to buy a roster. I need to, can anybody have a program, something? Can I download it on my phone? I don't know who these people are. And that's what, I'm sitting there and I'm an Angels fan. I paid all this money. He will sell tickets. Even if they're not great, he will sell tickets. I'm sorry. He and Mike Trout are my two cash cows. That even if I'm not doing well, I still have people buying tickets to see my game. I still have TV entities negotiating for my contract. Right?
Yeah.
That's what you've got to think of. This is a much bigger decision than how many wins do I get. This is a attendance, television rating, everything that goes with it. Okay? And you are in a market where you are competing with the Los Angeles Dodgers. I know the Los Angeles Angels. I find that to be absurd. They play in Anaheim. You know how long it takes to get from Los Angeles to Anaheim? For goodness sakes.
It's too long.
Yes. It's not a short trip. I've done it. You're like going, okay, this is the Los Angeles Angels. They were better off being called Anaheim, for God's sakes. What's wrong here? People know where Anaheim is, where Disneyland is.
Yeah. It's right across the street from one another. Yeah. It's right there.
Right? If the Anaheim Ducks can call themselves Anaheim, why can't the Angels? We're claiming the Los Angeles market?
I don't know.
I see infantile stuff like that where I sit back and go, the marketing, just sit down. We're in Anaheim. We're good.
But either way, you look at trades that haven't worked out in the past. The one I grew up on, because my dad was a Mets fan, was Nolan Ryan. Traded in, 71, I believe?
Yeah, they got Jim Fregosi.
Jim Fregosi and a pack of peanuts is how my dad always joked about it. It was Fregosi and some peanuts because...
Look who they got from the Reds for Tom Seaver.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Really?
There's been a lot of bad trades.
But again, what has been the return on all the trades of the big names? It's always been prospects. And all you're doing is rolling the dice on, I have no idea what I'm getting.
And there's this, I think, issue. Let me quickly. There's an issue in sports where, the NBA is one of the very few places that getting draft capital makes some sense in terms of, okay, logically this can work out because baseball is a humongous team sport where there's a lot of players.
Right.
NBA, there's only so many.
Right.
And, you'll hit more than you'll miss. Let's look at what the Celtics got for the KG Paul Pierce stuff. Yes, terrible trade when that was made in general, but draft capital wise, almost half those prospects worked for them.
Well, they got
Jason. Was it Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum? It was one of the two of them, right. And they got Robert Williams.
But they were top 5 picks.
Yeah, but that's the thing that works out in the MLB. All of these prospects and things, one prospect doesn't get you that far. What are the odds one of these guys becomes the pitching wise, Shohei Ohtani? Almost nothing.
Zero.
There's almost a 0% chance that happens. There's very few guys who end up getting to that point. Look at what the Tigers had for years with Scherzer and Verlander and Rick Porcello and them. Scherzer only got much better later.
Right.
But there's an issue.
Well, it is an issue, and here's the other issue that's coming up. More and more teams are relying less on the eyeballs of scouts because we're now in the computer era. And hey, I need to. What's his exit velocity? What's his spin rate? What's his placement?
Okay,
I'm sitting over here going, excuse me, does the guy on the mound, I don't care what his spin rate is, does he get outs? I don't care about what it's nice to have the printout, but I need my eyes to tell me, well, why is he getting outs? Right? Wow, he's got good slider. Okay, I can see it. Right? Good fastball, I can see it. Right? Now later on I'll get a printout of what's gone on, but you're getting fewer scouts out there. And they're doing everything on data. Let's make the trade based on the data. Okay? That's why I was talking to a group, and AI came up, and I think it came up in the context of, I think it was officiating. And I was talking about how robo-umps have been tried in the Atlantic League, and I think they're being tried in AAA.
They're getting moved up slowly.
Yeah. But it's not a perfect system. And I always tell everybody, AI is based on data and data from the past. You have to have a result to have it fed in. And that's what it's based on. What makes us humans the ultra successful ones are the ones that have an instinct. AI doesn't have instinct. They have a feel. AI doesn't have a feel. Right? Where you can just see something. You got a gut feeling about something. Right? And sometimes it goes against the grain, but you see something that's a little different than somebody else. Right? And your instinct tells you this is the way, quote, we need to go and why we need to do it. Right? Well, that's what's happening now with all this data. Data doesn't have instinct to it. There's no instinct in data. It's all, his spin rate is 3,000. He must be great. No, well, what about the other guy? It's got over here that I've watched, and he's retired 11 straight guys, and his spin rate's like 22, 2,300, but man, he sure does locate his pitches pretty well. Well, what about that guy? Well, no, he doesn't throw the ball hard enough. Really? Okay. Jerry Kuzman didn't throw it hard enough. Last time I checked, he won 2 World Series games. Yeah. And that's what's starting to be lost in sports is the instinct, the feel, the ability in a certain situation to go against the grain. So I'm going to give you a Joe Paterno example on instinct and feel. It was one year, I don't know, it was in the late 2000s. We're in the entire, I know I told you this story, but Joe called 6 plays the entire season. 6 plays. All 6 plays went for touchdowns. Relatively high percentage. I'll give you 2 plays in particular, one in 1985 and one in 1995. So 10 years apart. Penn State is playing Alabama at Beaver Stadium. Penn State is winning the game 12-10. No, my apologies. Penn State is losing the game at this point. Okay, losing the game. And they need to turn the game around. They're back on their own 20-yard line. 3rd down play. Penn State runs a reverse to Michael Timpson. Gets it out to the 50-yard line. Right? Then, as they're driving downfield, John Schaefer, the starting quarterback, gets hurt. And Penn State's at like the 20, 21-yard line now. And they bring in Matt Kisner. Kisner, first play action fake, rolls right, hits Brian Seiverling, touchdown. Penn State takes the lead. So I'm doing the post-game show with Joe. That was my job at the time. I was the 3rd guy in the network, so part of that job was to do the post-game interview with Joe live. I asked him about that sequence. And he said, Steve, he says, He said, I was watching the flow. He said, I knew we need, he said, if we could run, and this is Joe's words. He said, I told him, he said, run the Sally with Timpson. That's the terminology used for the reverse. He said, run the Sally with Timpson. Because he saw the flow going a certain way the entire, he says, now we're going to take it and we're going to bring it back. They got 30 yards on the first down. They said, now what was it? I said that when it came time, first play in, with Matt Kisner, he's been cold on the bench the entire time. Why that play call? He says two reasons. He says, one, they wouldn't expect it. He says, and two, that's a pass that he's really good at throwing. Okay. Where's the data here? All right? Okay. That's instinct. That's feel. That's observation. That's watching. Okay? He's not sitting there with a card saying, let's go to the next one. Joe didn't wear a headset either. 1995, last play of the game, Michigan State. Wally Richardson's the quarterback. Penn State gets down to the 2-yard line. Last play of the game, one play left. And the coaches want to call a play to Mike Archie, which, by the way, would be an excellent option. Joe steps in. He goes, no, I want to play to Timpson. No, we're all set. This is the play to Archie. We worked on it all week. He says, no, I want it to go to Bobby Ingram, I meant. He said, I want it to go to Ingram. They argue with him a little bit about it. And he said, no, I want the ball in Bobby Ingram's hands. And they said, why? I said, because he is the single best player on the field. Wally got it to Ingram on an inside screen and fought his guts out and got in the end zone for a touchdown. Now, it doesn't mean Mike Archie wouldn't have made it either. Okay, I'm not saying he wouldn't have. But it's that kind of conviction and feel for the game that I'm talking about with this. Right? And that's why all the data is great, but it cannot replace instinct. It can't replace feel. And instinct and feel are very much like the wind. You can feel it. Unless you're looking at the trees, you can't see it. Right? And the great ones have that. Right? The ones that rely heavily on data don't. Right? And I don't want robots, humans, making calls. Started this out with soccer. What makes Ronaldo and Messi a cut above? Because they do things that nobody else can do, and they do it in a way that nobody else can do. Oh, and by the way, it's not exactly the way it's drawn up on the pitch. When it comes time to make a play and they see the opening, right? Data will say, go over here, go over there, right? Nope, I see here. I go here, right? It's against what conventional wisdom would say, but because they're special and they have a vision, they'll make plays that nobody else can make because they're that good and have that kind of feel for what's, hey, wait a minute, I see it happening. Here we go. All right? They're not robotic. They're creative. And fans go to see not only winning, but they go to see creativity. This is what makes Ohtani so special. Ohtani can pitch. And guess what? He's great at it. Ohtani can hit. Hit a 2-run homer last night to send the game into extra innings in the 7th inning. He can hit. Right? Creative. We talked about Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts is creative. There's a flair to it. That's a bit different. Jalen Hurts has a flair. Patrick Mahomes has a flair for how he plays. Steph Curry has a flair for how he plays. Right? Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel have just a little different, right, way of playing. Right? Unconventional. Bobby Orr was unconventional. Gretzky was a Lemieux. Right? Lemieux didn't do everything like point A to point B, point A. You got to go here, here. He's like, give me the puck. Let's go. Let's make something happen. You go over here. I'll find you. That's what people pay to see. Why did baseball change all the rules so dramatically this year? Because it became so data-based, it was boring the living daylights out of the fans. Oh, great. Like, it's great. I mean, you got to manage. The data says he hits everything to the right side. He's a left-handed hitter. All pull, 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 pull. Well, of course I'm going to put my defense there. And the data helped me do that. I got it. Well, they had to take that out because everybody was going, that's just great. Launch angle. Okay, great. Strikeouts, walks, and home runs. That's the whole game. Now the game's not being played like that. De La Cruz doesn't play like that. It's more fun. It's more creative. People want to see creativity. We just had the arts festival here. That was all creativity. Except for the bowl of fruit.
Baseball is the biggest example of stats and the loss of feel. Like, the one place I look and I see that specifically is, what was it, Game 6, 2020 World Series.
Oh, Blake Snell.
Blake Snell getting pulled. Yep. Your pitcher is throwing a heater. 5 innings of, like, world-beating level pitching. And you say, we're going stats. I don't care about stats if I've got a guy who is running and gunning and who I can trust to throw me another 2-3 innings and get me into the bottom of the ninth.
Steph Curry is 0 for his first 8 from the field. Do I pull him? No.
Speaking of Steph Curry, back in the day, in 2011, the Warriors had a choice. Do we trade Steph Curry, get rid of him, or do we trade Monte Ellis? They said, we think this Curry kid could be great. And they trade Monte Ellis to the Bucks instead of Steph. It was been discussed that those two, it was one of the two of them was in the trade. Yep. And they traded away Ellis. And I think it worked out quite well for them. I think it worked out well for the Warriors overall.
More often than not, you will find that the trades or the moves that you don't make end up being, I'd say, a 70% success rate, as opposed to the moves you do make.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not talking about not making any moves. So let's take you're more of a Mets fan, right?
I'm a Yankees fan.
You're a Yankees fan. All right.
I know, heartbreak.
But let me give you an example from 2 years ago. Okay? They made a brilliant move at the deadline. It didn't pay off in winning the World Series. You haven't been there since 2009. Thought I'd point that out. But you picked up Anthony Rizzo. Okay? Rizzo's a beautiful player to watch. Hits with power, plays a beautiful first base. Okay? That's the move you do make. What did you give up in the trade? Nothing that the Cubs are dealing with. Nothing. Okay? And that's the move you do make. Okay? Then there are the moves you don't make. Right? And in the case of the Angels, don't make this move. Now, obviously there is the issue of the ability to re-sign him. I got that. And I'm not looking for a home down discount. I've got to pay the market rate. All right? So let's sit down and let's work out what the market rate is, and we're going to do everything we can to make you happy. Because by having you here, the fans will be happy. Our TV network partner is going to be happy. The radio network partner is going to be happy. Right? And it gives us the best chance to win, because on a 26-man roster, okay, you may be one man, but you actually make us a 27-man roster because you take 2 spots. Mm-hmm. And I think that's that. And sitting there and going, oh, what prospects do we get? And I told you the Padres story about, I think Towers may have been the GM at the time, and they had to get rid of, who's the pitcher?
Was it
Jake Peavy?
Jake Peavy.
It's Jake Peavy.
Everyone's favorite.
Right? Jake Peavy, who, by the way, did a good job with the Red Sox.
Good pitcher.
Helped them. Right? But Peavy was the highest guy on their payroll. They had to get it. So the ownership told him in a meeting, and my buddy was in the meeting. So this is not one of those secondhand things I'm telling you. He's in the meeting. They said, we got to move him. We got to move him. So the next time they have a meeting, which is before the trade deadline, it was right around the trade deadline, they had another ownership meeting. Towers comes in. And he says, hey, I got some news for you. He said, traded Peavy to the White Sox. And the lead owner, he goes, this is great. Oh, man. He says, oh, John, way to go. That is fabulous. He said, he's off the books. Tremendous. Exactly what we needed. And he looks at me and says, well, don't you want to know who we got in return? He goes, what? He says, don't you want to know who we got in return? He says, you mean they gave us players in return? Yeah. I think one of them was Clayton Richard.
It was the Clayton Richard, Aaron Pareda, Adam Russell, Dexter Carter in 2009.
Yes. Right.
Had to pull that one up.
So I got Clayton Richard right.
Yeah, you got Clayton Richard. Yeah. Pretty good player in his time.
Yeah, which is fine. But you're like, you mean they're giving us players too?
But the short of it is, you don't want to be the guy who trades Ohtani. Just like the Magic traded Shaq, and that craziness and all that happened right there. You don't want to be the guy who trades.
You don't want to
Shohei
be
Ohtani.
Okay, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar from the Bucks to the Lakers. You don't want to be Shaq, okay, and trade him over to the Lakers. Okay, you don't want to be the one to do that along the way. Okay, you don't want to be in that kind of position where you're doing that because 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work. So my advice to the Angels is this doesn't work.
And of course, thanks for tuning in to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a Seven Mountains Media production.
Oh, this works.
Yeah, this works. Check back daily for all the latest sports news and analysis. The voice of Penn State football and men's basketball, Steve Jones. And you can, of course, find us on social media at Seven Mountain Sports on Facebook.